Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Micah. You guys are rocking with me on Mike's Intellectual Corner. On today's episode, we're going to be diving back into our epic history, TV, Napoleonic Wars, Napoleon's Revenge, Wagram, 1809. With that being said, guys, thank you for joining me. Let's just go ahead and get right to it.
An Epic History TV History March collaboration. In May 1809, the Austrians had defeated Napoleon's army in the bloody Battle of Aspern. His enemies took heart. After years of French military dominance, it seemed the tide was turning at last. 3 weeks later, Pope Pius VII excommunicated Napoleon for annexing papal land. Another propaganda coup for his enemies. But in the wake of its victory, Austria hesitated, not sure whether to seek peace or continue the war, while Napoleon responded with a hurricane of activity.
Yeah, because Napoleon wasn't about to accept peace either way, even if they did want to. Because we also have to remember at the end of the last video, Marshal Land ended up passing away, which is arguably, Napoleon's most favorite marshal. So, with that being said,
while Napoleon responded with a hurricane of activity, he summoned reinforcements to join him near Vienna. The Army of Italy, under his stepson Eugène de Beauharnais, and 11th Corps under Marshal Marmont, who had together driven Archduke John's Austrian army out of North Italy, as well as Marshal Bernadotte's Saxon 9th Corps.
Yeah, and see, look, they're right outside of Vienna, so it's like, why would they give up right now? You know what I'm saying? So that was never going to, I don't think that was ever a choice anyway.
As well as Marshal Bernadotte's Saxon 9th Corps. Napoleon's army grew from 90,000 to a massive 164,000 men and 544 guns to take on Charles's army of 128,000 and 414 guns. 6 weeks after his first attempt had ended in defeat, Napoleon ordered his army to cross the river once more.
Yeah, see, this is all Napoleon needed, because now we're about to see a freaking battle with almost close to 300,000, different soldiers in it. It's about to be pretty crazy, but
once more. This time, his engineers had built solid bridges across the Danube to ensure there was no repeat of the disasters of Aspern. For the French army, Napoleon declared, the Danube no longer exists. The stage was set for the largest battle yet seen in European history. If you think our Napoleon series has made...
Alright, real quick guys, like I said in my last video, I have to go past these because last time I got hit with a copyright claim just because I let their ad play. So I'm not going to do that again.
On the evening of the 4th of July, in heavy rain, the French began crossing from the island of Lobau, not towards the devastated villages of Aspern and Esslingen, but east towards Groß-Enzersdorf, which was soon ablaze from French shells. Archduke Charles had left only a small advance guard to delay the French. By dawn, General Massena's 4th Corps and Oudinot's 2nd Corps were driving those troops back, winning space for the French army to deploy. At 1 p.m, Napoleon was ready to begin his advance across 6 miles of flat cornfields towards the main Austrian position.
Yeah, and the Austrians are still set up pretty good too, if you see, because they're in a pretty good formation out there. So
across 6 miles of flat cornfields towards the main Austrian position, an escarpment known as the Wagram, 100 meters behind the Russbach stream. As General Lasalle's light cavalry and Massena's 4th Corps swung left to guard the flank, Oudinot's 2nd Corps and Davout's 3rd Corps advanced towards the Wagram. Bernadotte's Saxon Corps and Eugène's Army of Italy filled the centre. At 6 p.m, unsure of the enemy's strength, Napoleon ordered a full-scale assault against the Wagram plateau.
He must have did this so he could seek out the weak spots in this, because this is obviously their strongest formation for the Austrians. So I'm guessing he's doing that so he can see if there's any weak spots, or see if he can just, out of the blue, just take it right here and there. I guess, maybe. If not, let me know.
Napoleon ordered a full-scale assault against the Wagram plateau. But his troops met determined Austrian resistance along the line. By dusk, the Saxon 9th Corps had pushed into the village of Deutsch Wagram. The Saxon infantry wore white uniforms, like the Austrians, and as darkness fell, were mistaken for the enemy and fired on by friendly units. The Saxons panicked.
See, I feel like that's too easy of a fix, you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that could have been something like that they could have, seen, especially Napoleon, being as smart as he is, could have seen coming with them knowing that the Austrians have white uniforms also,
The Saxons panicked and fled with heavy losses. Napoleon's attempt at a quick breakthrough had failed. That night, both armies slept in the open, while Charles and Napoleon planned their next moves. On the second day, Napoleon planned for Davout's 3rd Corps to lead the attack, rolling up the Austrian flank, while his other corps pinned down the enemy with local attacks. But to the Emperor's fury, he learned that overnight, without orders, Marshal Bernadotte had withdrawn his battered Saxons from Aderklaa, which the Austrians now occupied. Aderklaa was a crucial strongpoint in the centre of the battlefield. Napoleon gave orders for its immediate
Yeah, I know Napoleon was pissed off. That's literally like taking 3 steps forward and 2 steps back. I wonder why, and let me know if you guys know in the comments, but I wonder why Marshal Bernadotte didn't call for backup so that they can keep that city, because, you know what I'm saying, he would have had to have known that Napoleon would have been pissed about that.
Napoleon gave orders for its immediate recapture. But the French and Saxon attack failed, with heavy losses. The Austrians had their own problems. Archduke Charles, knowing he faced a superior enemy, had decided his only chance of victory lay in an all-out dawn attack. He was relying on his brother, Archduke John, reaching him with 13,000 reinforcements, in time to support the attack on the left. But by dawn, there was still no sign of him. What's more, as 4th Corps began its assault on Grosshofen, on time, 3rd Corps, which had received its orders late, was still getting into position, holding up the entire Austrian right wing.
So from what I'm getting right now, it's just there's a serious lack of communication all around the battlefield on both sides. There's just a lot of it going on right now.
Into position, holding up the entire Austrian right wing. Charles had to tell 4th Corps to abort its unsupported attack until the other corps were ready. With the Austrians paralysed by delays, at 10 a.m, Davout began his attack. A fierce infantry battle erupted in the village of Markgraf Neusiedl, while in the fields, dragoons and hussars fought a giant whirling cavalry battle, as each side tried to outflank the other. Davout's corps took the village, though they couldn't stop the Austrians withdrawing to a strong new position on the Wagram escarpment. Meanwhile, a serious threat had developed to Napoleon's left flank and rear. Klenau's 6th Corps had driven back the outnumbered French, with some units advancing as far as Essling, dangerously close to Napoleon's vital river crossings. Napoleon urgently needed to reinforce his left flank, But he was also determined to hold back his reserves for a...
Yeah, and pretty close to getting it, over encircling them also, looks like, too. Well, in a sense, you know what I'm saying? But yeah.
But he was also determined to hold back his reserves for a decisive attack. So he ordered Massena's 4th Corps to march across the battlefield and reinforce the left. A huge redeployment like this, right in front of the enemy, was high risk. So Marshal Bessieres was ordered to lead a cavalry attack straight against the enemy centre. Casualties were high. Even Marshal Bessieres had his horse killed under him, to the alarm of his men.
Yeah, I bet that was very alarming, because you gotta remember, especially in the heat of battle, like for a marshal to almost die, or even a high leader to almost die, you gotta think of like, damn, what's gonna be the next chain of command on all this other stuff, you know what I'm saying? So
his horse killed under him, to the alarm of his men. But the enemy was kept busy, while 4th Corps completed its redeployment and forced Klenau's corps to fall back.
So I'm guessing by that statement, being a trooper in this time is like pretty much a death sentence, but I'm guessing is probably regarded as a very high position if that's the case. Otherwise, why would people want to do it unless they're being told to? And then it's kind of funny that he's 33 and is saying this by about 30-year-olds, but still pretty crazy though. Because I think he is about to die as well.
Napoleon now assembled a grand battery of more than 80 cannon in the centre of the battlefield. This was one of Napoleon's trademark tactics, a concentration of artillery to blast the enemy line and pave the way for a decisive French attack. The Grand Battery fired an estimated 15,000 rounds, setting light to the cornfields.
That's a lot. I'm not gonna lie. I almost thought he said 1,500, but yeah, 15,000. That's a lot. Damn. I wish I knew that, because I was thinking he said 1,500, because I was thinking 1,500. That's like, I can't think of that right now. I'm not gonna waste you guys' time. So.
Setting light to the cornfields. Around 1 p.m, Napoleon ordered a general attack. As Davout continued to batter at the enemy flank, 4th Corps would advance on the left, 2nd Corps on the right, while in the centre, General MacDonald would lead forward 8,000 men of the Army of Italy, formed up in a giant 3-sided square to secure his flanks. But despite the terrible French cannonade, Austrian 3rd Corps and Grenadiers of the Reserve met the French advance with torrential fire. MacDonald's giant square was cut to pieces, its men mowed down en masse by cannon fire, and the attack stalled. But the...
Damn, you really have to imagine what like these men were thinking, who are in these different battles, who constantly having to deal with either getting killed by cannon fire, or I guess even being a trooper, or all this stuff, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder what goes through their mind, you know what I'm saying?
But the Austrian army, battered by relentless French attacks, was near breaking point. Every part of the line was under pressure from the French. Archduke Charles, determined above all to keep his army intact, ordered a retreat. The Austrian withdrawal was disciplined and well executed. Napoleon had his victory. But his army was also so shattered by fatigue and heavy losses, it was unable to launch any effective pursuit.
Yeah, I was about to say, because they lost like what seemed like 2 whole corps, which were of the, their allied forces, which I know, one of them was essentially because of uniform, which that didn't have to happen, but yeah.
The Battle of Wagram was a brutal slugging match, the biggest and bloodiest battle yet seen in European history. French victory came at unprecedented cost. An estimated 37,500 casualties against 41,500 Austrian. 4 days later, French troops caught up with the retreating Austrians at Znaim. As the fighting escalated, Charles knew he could not withstand the French a second time, and asked for a ceasefire. But he had not consulted his older brother, Emperor Francis, who was furious when he heard the news, not least because long-awaited British support was finally on the way.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you kind of want to be able to live to fight another day. Because by the sound of it, they weren't. If he did that, they weren't going to be able to survive that. And how inland they are, Britain's not going to be able to catch up. You know what I'm saying?
British support was finally on the way. 3 weeks after the Battle of Znaim, the largest amphibious force Britain had ever assembled, 35 ships of the line and 39,000 troops, landed at Walcheren Island on the Scheldt estuary. Its aim was to destroy French shipping and naval stores. But following the successful bombardment and capture of Vlissingen, British commanders let the initiative slip from their grasp. Their force was bottled up by French troops on the marshy Dutch coast, where it was decimated by fever and dysentery. About 4,000 died. Many more became permanent invalids.
Well, that was over before it even started. Maybe if they would have chosen a less marshy coast to land on, that was less prone to diseases and such. But I don't know. Old European is really prone to diseases, so I don't know.
The survivors were evacuated back to England in December. Emperor Francis, informed of the British debacle and persuaded by his generals that Austria couldn't fight on, made peace with Napoleon. In October, Austria signed the Treaty of Schönbrunn, giving up territory to the French Empire, Bavaria, Saxony, the Duchy of Warsaw, and Russia. In total, the Austrian Empire was stripped of 3.5 million subjects, forced to pay an indemnity, limit its army to 150,000 men, and join Napoleon's continental system, which meant ending all trade with British ships and merchants.
That's a lot, and it kind of almost sounds a little bit like the Treaty of Versailles, but at the very least, they are going to get everything essentially back that they lost in this, and they're only going to feel this for a few years. So.
Archduke Charles, meanwhile, one of Napoleon's more skilled opponents, had fallen out so bitterly with his brother, Emperor Francis, that he never held active command again. Napoleon had won another crushing victory, but there were worrying signs for the French emperor. His enemies were learning, while he would increasingly have to rely on young conscripts to fill the gaps left by veterans killed or wounded on campaign. Few could have guessed in 1809, but Napoleon had just fought his last victorious campaign.
We'll go ahead and stop it right there, guys. It would seem that Napoleon, his constant being in a state of war is starting to mount up on him, and I mean, I guess you can only be at war and only be winning so much, with a limited supply of men, I guess you could say. With that being said, though, guys, thank you for joining me on another episode of Micah's Intellectual Corner. Please join me on to my next episode. I'll be doing the history of the entire world, I guess. Reaction. That'll be a recommendation. With that, I'll see you guys when I see you. I'm out.